Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast today. I'm super excited to talk again for the second time with Marguerite Rigoglioso, a really amazing priestess teacher, and I've been following her work for so long, really, really long. I can't remember when. It must have been like when you started your whole priestess training and mystery school. So thank you so much for being here again, and thank you for all the work that you do for the world and for the women out there.
Oh, Shireen, you're welcome. And thank you for having me again and for perhaps introducing the work that I do to many more people, especially in Sweden and beyond.
Thank you so much. And I'm really excited. We have spoken before. We had a beautiful call about exactly a year ago, and we talked about Mother Mary and divine conception. And for me, the process of speaking with you opened up a lot, and we had amazing topics that came up. And I knew that we will talk again at some point. And I've been reading your book. And for everyone who hasn't listened to that, it was an episode, I think May of last year. So you can go back to that. But maybe, Marguerite, you want to do a short introduction still for those that haven't listened to that episode.
Sure. Yeah, that was a real good one, as I recall. So again, it was about, we were talking about my book, which is called The Mystery Tradition of Miraculous Conception. And the subtitle is Mary and the Lineage of Virgin Births. And that came out in 2021. And it's been going strong. And it's really the world's first major introduction to Mother Mary as a bona fide priestess of divine birth, somebody who was trained in the lineage of how to do this and was part of a mission and a star mission and a ministry to bring in this great high being known as Jesus, and that Mary herself had been brought in that way, divinely conceived by her mother Anne, and what this entailed. How is it that I know about this? What did this practice involve? Where did it lead up to? So we could begin to see Mother Mary in a new light. And then next year, my next book on Mother Mary is coming out. So we'll be in touch again after that, because it'll be an expanded view of, Mother Mary as even beyond a divine birth priestess, but everything else that she did in her life as well.
So beautiful and so amazing how synchronicities also led me back to your book throughout this year, that I've been doing religious studies in university, and how I was studying about the indigenous Sami culture that we have up in the Nordics.
Yes.
And the shamans here, it's such a beautiful topic just in itself, how important also the women's role were assisting the shamans. And the Swedish indigenous religion also had the female shamans, the völvor. Right. Yeah, and they were doing a lot of medicinal work and channeling and translates. And what I wanted to say about the Sami, what was beautiful, because the sun was in the Sami indigenous belief, female goddess, the sun.
Yes.
And when it got involved with the Christian mythology, they said that the sun was Mother Mary's mother, Anne. So it was like so many beautiful weavings together, and how that comes together in different cultures. And
that's right, because that is ancient knowledge about who these personages really were, who these beings really were, and the solar feminine aspect that was involved with them, which one of our world oracles, Lisa Renee, is talking about quite a bit. Wow. And in her May 2023 Shifting Timelines audio blog, she is pulling out all the stops on the restoration of the solar feminine, the solar feminine Christ Sophia, the awareness of it, and the re-empowerment of it in our planet, and how all of these personalities that we've heard about, Grandmother Anne, Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Queen Guinevere, and more, are all related to this. So it's amazing to hear that the Sami would have been so connected to that already.
Amazing. So much is coming through now. And I actually pulled another card for us to speak about, or the symbolics in the card. But when you spoke about the sun, I connected also, since our Kurdish indigenous symbol is the sun as well, with the 21 rays, which symbolize the transmutation of, it symbolizes a lot, but the transmutation of the soul after death. The symbol in the middle is, so we have the sun, but then we have this symbol that I chose to have also in the back of the card, which is, this is how the sun symbol is in our tradition. And this is tattooed on women's faces and skins and hands. So it's the women who hold the symbol of the sun. So that's amazing what you're sharing with me right now.
The solar feminine Christ Sophia, as you might call it in the Christian tradition, but that's referring to just the esoteric level of it. It doesn't belong to Christianity or Judaism or anything like that. It is a global history that has been hidden and that is being now revealed and strengthened. Because, you know, there was a lot that went on to disempower the female solar energy, which Lisa Renee tells us is also related to who the dragons really are, that they are these high level interdimensional earth and astral beings that are really, you know, part of our ancestors.
Wow.
Very important.
That makes so much sense, because this past year since we talked, I've done a lot of ancestral work, and at the closure of this ancestral work, in a meditation, a dragon appeared, and I've never been so connected. And just the other day, I found a rune stone, because, you know, here in Sweden we have them placed all over, and it was the dragon. But here in the runes, they kind of look like dragons and serpents at the same time, which also connects back to the Kurdish Yazidi symbol that they have in the Kurdish temples, where the snake is actually upright, like the awakening of the Kundalini. So there's so many connections.
It's all there. It's all there in the indigenous aspects and the mystical aspects of all of our cultures and religions, if you dig deep enough.
Definitely. So I'm really interested today, because all of these connections, and that's why I feel like we're working parallel and weaving, and your teachings are coming through in so many different ways for me in my like personal studies and my spiritual path. When we look at, so we started the thread with Mother Mary, and the rose is so connected with her, and I always think about the rose also as the heart. And in the statue there, she's actually holding roses here, and she has the roses by her feet. And that brings me also to this heart opening, which, so you have been working with cacao as a sacred medicine, and I think all of us can relate to cacao in one or different way, as chocolate, of course, as something that soothes our soul. And in Chinese medicine, the bitter taste is connected to the heart. So when you have something bitter, and that is again the fire energy of the sun. So everything is connected.
I was thinking as we were beginning to talk about the sun, well, that is what feeds the cacao. It's what's encoded in the cacao seeds, which are at the core of the fruit that is part of the tree. It's a pod, as some may know and some may not know. It's a pod that's kind of, you know, shaped with points at the end. And the fruit it's like, it tastes like melon a little, but the seeds are quite big, and they're like large coffee beans. They look kind of like large coffee beans or large lotus beans. And those are what are ground and turned, and then flattened out into sheets and dried, and that creates the cacao paste that is then shipped and enjoyed by people. It's melted, and then it can be ground into powder. Sometimes the cocoa butter is abstracted from it, and it's sold in different ways, but the raw jungle grown cacao that has not been boiled in any way is a sacred plant, as you're saying. And here's a little piece of the paste. All right, that's been created. This particular variety is beloved cacao that my friend and priestess colleague Angela de la Agua sells, that she sources in, I believe, Guatemala. It might be Ecuador. It's either Ecuador or Guatemala. So yes, so we can dive into talking about that if you want.
Definitely. I love that. And so beautiful to think about. Exactly. People might not know how where even chocolate or cacao is, like the shape of it. I drew this card from my healing oracle. My heart is open to receive love. And if people are watching this, you can see the cacao bean there. Yes. And it's so beautiful because it itself looks like a seed, and it's I feel like it's very feminine. And how important it is. We can get into that, because since we can work with plants in different way, and how we are made, all of us, from the same earth, and how we're all connected with the plants and animals. How did it call to you, and why did you start working with it?
Yeah, I mean, to me, well, they referred to her in Central and South America as Ix Cacao, Ix, meaning mother cacao, or I call her Mama Cacao. Definitely feminine energy. And because when you drink her, or you can eat the paste, you can cook with it and so forth. In fact, there's that beautiful movie Chocolat with Juliette Binoche, worth finding and looking at, because that reveals the secrets of cacao. That's what she was doing. She was providing these cacao confections, and people were having all sorts of open states of consciousness and renewal in their sexual lives with their spouses, and emotional openings, because cacao opens the heart, literally, physically. It dilates the blood vessels, goes straight to the heart. It raises the heart rate, not the pressure, but the rate. And it opens the consciousness. So you'll have an expanded state. And the way that I started on this was my friend that I mentioned earlier, Angela de la Agua, prepared some for us when we were at 5-day workshop of the Holy Womb Chakra teachings in Laytonville, California. That's also where I learned about that and began my certification process in learning about the Holy Womb as a chakra that is connected to Mother Divine, and where all the information comes from, that a saint named Sri Kaleshwar had collected all this material from the palm leaf manuscripts of India and beyond. And he also had past life recall of being with the Holy Family. So we were on our, I think, 4th of 5 days, and it was going to be the day about how Mother Mary used the mantras and the yantras from this system, and how she literally resurrected Jesus through her womb, after his crucifixion. So Angela prepared this cacao for us in her little tent. And then, I drank maybe about half of it. Probably she did it in water, which is the traditional way. You stir, and it's a very dark, somewhat thick liquid. And we went up, and we were sitting in there, and I didn't realize, but because it was gentle, I just thought, wow, I'm really opening my consciousness in this discussion, this teaching about Mother Mary. And later I realized, well, the cacao had assisted me to open my heart and my understanding of Mother Mary's true nature and her true expanded role beyond what we have been shown about her. And basically, the four of us were weeping that Angela had served. It was such a wonderful way to be initiated to Mama Cacao and Mother Mary at the same time. Like, I'm only fully now realizing the importance of that. And so that was the beginning. And after that, I had been teaching at the time a higher level Priestess of the Dove oracle training for I did a number of cohorts of that. And Angela was my teaching assistant that year. So I had her bring cacao in during our retreat. And it was a beautiful supplemental teaching for the women who were learning how to open their oracle wisdom, consciousness, through methods of meditation and running energy, to now have it with the cacao one morning, and what an expanded state and a state of the heart feels like. That was my initiation. And since then, I have offered in-person and online cacao ceremonies. I've lost track how many, between 10 and 20. That's since 2017. And as we were talking briefly, I also now have a Sacred Feminine Plant Medicine Academy course that's going through the summer, starting tomorrow, May 23rd, 2023, that people can continue to enroll in. And we're looking at a number of plants. And we will have optional ceremonies for people to join in. And cacao is one of them. And my dear friend teacher, Angela, is going to be the primary teacher for that module. So that's just giving you a little bit. And I could continue to talk about what I've observed, what I've experienced with cacao and with others. But you may have other questions at this moment.
No, I love that. I would love to hear about it, because it's so, just listening to you also have made me reflect how important it is. You know, we use daily plants, right? We have tea, we have coffee, and sometimes I feel like, because I drink a lot of tea, and then I felt like, and I've been in tea ceremonies where I've, like, Chinese traditional tea ceremonies here in Sweden, where we drank green tea and black tea, different teas, and I had like these visuals, and this was years ago, visuals of a woman who embraced, like, it's so meditative, and it's been practiced everywhere in different ways, with different, like, the local plants and with the trees. And there's so much, I think we underestimate that. And for me lately, it's been so important to also acknowledge the teas that I drink, so I'm not like abusing those plants, and honoring the people who's worked to help that plant to grow, and the place, and how important it is to source it correctly. So I really love that aspect, and how it's so ceremonial. We cannot, like, just take from the earth and not to, like, give something back, or an offering or a thought. So I would love to hear more of your experience as well.
Yes. Well, whenever I drink cacao, and sometimes I do a ceremonial dose, which is anywhere between 1 and 1.5 ounces. And I don't have committed to memory what that is in grams. But I provide that information when people register. And you melt it without boiling it. When you boil it, it interferes with the properties of it. You also do not boil it or melt. You do not melt it in milk, cow's milk. The traditional way, as I mentioned, is in water. You can also use any of the nut milks. And you measure out with a kitchen scale, 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces. And you start melting it and stirring it. And I have an implement called a molinillo from Mexico that is like, you go like this, and you can stir it and froth it up. And then I have a little ceremony where I honor the lineage of where I learned it from. Angela de la Agua, Paola, Ix, and Gustavo Ish from Mexico. They're Mayan ancestors. And then I honor the Aztec ancestors, the Toltec ancestors, the Olmec ancestors. I honor Mama Cacao herself. And I honor Mother Earth, Mother Divine, and Santa Maria.
Mm.
And then I begin drinking. And this is really whether I am doing a ceremonial dose or whether I am using powder that I've obtained from various places. Sometimes when I'm using powder, it's just like I'll take 2 heaping teaspoons. I won't be in a full ceremonial state, but it will help open me and bring peace. That's what cacao brings to me and many people, because it dilates the blood vessels, because it raises the heart activity, it raises the love vibration, and it brings peace and love into your life, and it teaches you, what does love feel like? What does peace feel like? And then you can begin to think about situations and people in your life from that perspective. And because it's opening your consciousness, it's also opening your upper chakras. And I think it opens your womb wisdom for women. And also men have a Nada Bindu point under their navel, which connects them to the womb. So the womb is not only for women. And you begin to reflect on situations and get guidance. You can also have an intention for a ceremony. I always do. And then receive information directly on other topics. You can ask Mama Cacao how you can commune with her. There are so many ways to work with it individually. And then in a group, when I do it and when I've experienced it, I usually have several parts. One is where people are beginning to feel the medicine, and then I let them have like their own half hour or so with the medicine in Q&A. I might give prompts, questions, things like that. Then we sometimes go on a journey together, a guided meditation for a specific type of healing. And then often I will serve as an oracle for people who want to bring questions and get even higher level guidance, than what they might be receiving directly. So those are many ways that I've used it. But for me, she is a true ally in life, and she's an ally for how humanity can start opening to what we're calling 5th dimensional consciousness, which is the consciousness of the open heart and the consciousness of the open mind. If we all were able to open to that level and get along, conflicts would disappear overnight, because we would have the remedies for how to approach people. We would approach them with different language, right? We would be in a state of gratitude and compassion instead of acrimony. So this is the type of thing, the vibration that Mama Cacao teaches us, which I think is why it's become so popular as an opener and as a step into the world that we want to co-create.
That's so beautiful, everything that you shared. And I love that it's connected to the womb, because I felt like, how many of us, when we're in the fall season of our cycle, tend to feel what we need and for the heart to be soothed. And usually that bitter, it's actually not the sweetness that we're craving. I think it's mostly the heart opening of the cacao. We can feel it subconsciously. And then also I love that you've mentioned before how you can also work with the plant, because on a subtle level, with just, even if you can't have it like physically, like
That's
working with the shape and color of it, the same with the rose, right? Because that's also a very high frequency plant.
Yes, you tune in. And in fact, people have had experiences. That's why I always make it optional for people to use that or any plant, because you can use it as an exercise to train yourself to tune into the plant and its effects and chemicals within your own body to activate them, because that's what we want. The plants really are only teachers. And, Shireen, as you were talking, this is the first time this occurred to me, because I'm beyond this stage, but for women menstruating, I believe that the cacao can relax the uterus when there's pain. So that is a real way of, and you can go into the red tent
Mm.
in a more relaxed state. You're open now, and you can have the group experience of co-receiving information on topics and things for one another, for the community. So there's so much involved and possible for this and many of our other mind-opening plants.
Definitely, there's so much, and I think that's so beautiful. And in Chinese medicine, the heart and womb are connected, so they work as a system. So it makes complete sense. And I love that you did the course with Lindsay. And actually, that's the one that I've done, but recorded. So sometimes I hear your voice. So that's
sometimes
why
you hear my voice. Yes, Cindy Lindsay,
yeah.
A senior teacher at the Divine Mother Center, one who learned directly from Sri Kaleshwar, this late Hindu saint, and my teacher. I honor her so deeply.
Yeah, and she's been on the podcast. I found her thanks to you, and it's such a beautiful teaching, and how everything comes together, like everything that you're doing, you're weaving together. There's so much more, of course, as usual, to talk about, but I'm really grateful that you came on and shared about Mama Cacao. And if anyone has any questions to Marguerite or to me, connect with us. How can people find you and your work?
Oh, thank you so much, Shireen. Yes, they can go to sevensistersmysteryschool.com. And the 7 is written out, S-E-V-E-N, sevensistersmysteryschool.com. We have much information on our homepage, and then we have a navigation tab that you can explore. There are courses about sacred plant medicine, a cacao apprenticeship. There are courses on, many, many other topics, a lot of free offerings. So I encourage people to go. And then there's a way to communicate with me there. And you can also simply write to us at Dove, D-O-V-E, at sevensistersofferings.com, sevensistersofferings.com. The 7 is written out, S-E-V-E-N. So we welcome inquiries. We welcome visits to the website, and you can really enjoy some free gifts there as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. I will put the link in the show notes. Thank you so much again for being here with us. I'm sure we will definitely talk about Mother Mary again very soon. So thank you so much for everything, Marguerite, everything that you do.
You're welcome. And thank you. Thank you, Shireen.
Thank you.